The lens is never renewed. The lens of your eye is the only tissue in the human body that is never updated. What's in it accumulated over 50 years remains there forever, and that's why cataracts every second person already has one older than P. Not in the elderly, not in the sick, in every second one. But here's what no one will tell you says. This process does not begin in 60, it starts at 40. Quiet and unnoticed, but it can be stopped. Me, what is a cataract? Explain without textbooks. My name is Igorevich Tlyashev, and today I want to talk to you about something that most people notice too much late: cataract. The word itself sounds like something far away, something for old people in nursing home. But here's the fact that changed the attitude towards this disease many of my patients. The first changes in the lens begin already at 40 years of age. Let me explain what's going on inside the eye without medical textbooks. Here's a simple picture. Take raw chicken egg and lower it into boiling water. The protein that was just there, transparent, becomes white and cloudy forever. This is exactly what happens to yours, with a crystal lens, only very slowly for decades. Proteins inside it gradually denatures, sticks together, lose transparency, and unlike liver, from the skin, from the bones, the lens can renew itself. Not a single cell of it will be replaced with a new one. What is damaged forever. That's why every second person has cataracts, a person older than a bird. This is not a disease, unlucky. This is the result of decades small, imperceptible blows to one and the same tissue. I had a patient, Valentina Petrovna, 62 years old, teacher, a very lively woman of those who always holds on, came with a complaint that it became worse to see in the twilight. The doctor says, I thought it was simple, age. I looked, initial cataracts in both eyes. She was in shock because there was no pain or sharp deterioration. It's just that one day the world became a little more matte. And here it begins. The most important thing is because Valentina Petrovna had several very specific habits, ordinary ones, which have lasted for years, destroyed her lens. I didn't suspect. And frankly speaking, most people don't even know about it. The first of these habits and why she's more dangerous than you think, I'll tell you. Hey, right now. But first, I remembered one number. 20 minutes. Exactly, enemy 1. UV rays and 20 minutes in the sun, that's how much the summer sun needs to start the lens processes that no turning back. 20 minutes. It was not by chance that I chose this figure. Imagine you went out to your dacha in July without hats and no glasses. Just breathe. Air, water the beds. The sky is overcast, light haze. The sun doesn't seem to burn. You don't squint, you don't feel discomfort, everything is fine. But inside your eye is working at this moment, which you are unaware of. Ultraviolet is not what you feel it. This is what is accumulating. The lens has no blood vessels. He can't wash away the damage like other tissues. Every photon ultraviolet radiation that passes through it starts the oxidation reaction proteins. Small, almost imperceptible, but irreversible. And such reactions at one time, summer without protection, millions. I had patient Gennady Viktorovich, 58 years old. All I spent my whole life working as a foreman on a construction site. A wonderful man, strong, didn't smoke, I drank especially. Both of them developed cataracts. And much faster age norm. I ask, glasses, did you wear it on the street? He says never. I thought it was a show-off. 30 years ago outdoors, in direct sunlight 8 hours a day, the lens just doesn't manage to cope. Research show people who live in regions with high solar activity and do not use protection, they receive cataracts on average 7-8 years earlier than those who live further north or wear quality glasses. 7 years is not abstraction. This is 7 years old, when you are still, do you see your grandson's face well or not? But this is what is important to understand, and this is what it surprises me when I talk about it on reception. Not only direct sunlight. Scattered ultraviolet light on a cloudy day, it is up to 80% of clear. You are sitting under an awning on the beach and you think you're protected, but the lens is in it, time continues to receive its dose. Now about the glasses, because there are a trap that most people fall into. Not every pair of sunglasses protects against ultraviolet radiation. Cheap glasses with dark glass without a UV filter is worse than none at all. The pupil dilates in the dark and ultraviolet light penetrates through the eyes in a larger volume. Do you think that they defended themselves? But in reality, they opened the door wider. Which glasses exactly work and which ones are not, I'll tell you a little later, when we will collect a complete security protocol. Now I need to tell you about the enemy, which operates from within. And here many of you, I'm sure, will say, Doctor, this is definitely not about me. But that's exactly what Valentina Petrovna said before I showed her tests. Enemy HS2. Sugar and lens glycation, it's about sugar and what it does to your crystal every day. Valentina Petrovna, she was not a diabetic. The tests are normal, the sugar is normal. But when I asked her about nutrition, it turned out one detail. Every evening tea with 3 spoons of sugar, cookies, sometimes jam. Well, just a little, doctor. Just a little. Each day 30 years. This is what happens to lens when in the blood regularly sugar rises. There is such a process, glycation. It sounds complicated, But in reality, in fact, it's a very simple thing. Molecule sugars literally stick to protein's lens, like caramel to the apple. And when protein is sugared, it loses transparency, becomes hard, cloudy. This process cannot be reversed. Back, no drops, no vitamins. Diabetics have cataracts. Develops twice as fast and in on average 10-15 years earlier than in humans with normal sugar. Well, that's what's not enough, who knows. Prediabetes is a condition in which sugar is already slightly elevated, but has not yet crossed the diagnostic line. Every third person over the age of 18 has one. 50. And most of them are about this. They don't know. They're not diabetics, they like sweets a little. I had one patient, Mikhail Sergeyevich, 60 years old engineer, came with progressive cataracts, strong and athletic in appearance. I ordered a glycated glucose test, hemoglobin. This is an indicator of the average sugar levels in 3 months. Result 5.9, not diabetes but already on the border. Says, I don't eat cakes. No. But white bread every day, potatoes, sweet yogurt in the morning is the same, the very sugar molecules that stick to the proteins of his lens. Just slower. You know, I've been talking about it for 20 years. At this reception, one person per hour, one day after another. I started this channel to reach out to those who haven't seen a doctor yet. Got it? If this is important to you, subscribe. I go out every week. Now about specific numbers, because I don't like general words. Every sharp jump in sugar after eating what doctors call postprandial hyperglycemia triggers a wave of glycation in the tissues of the eye, and there can be 3 such waves a day, depending on what you eat. The lens does not rest, it accumulates. What exactly should be removed from the diet and what add, we'll figure it out a little later. Specific products, specific doses without general words about proper nutrition. But enemy number 3, smoking, -6 years of vision first, another enemy. You'll probably be talking about him. In general, you don't think in context at all vision. Many of my patients, when I name the following cause of cataracts, they say the same thing. Doctor, I knew that it is harmful, but I didn't think exactly what so. It's about cigarettes and numbers, which will surprise you. Each smoked a cigarette generates about 1 trillion free radicals. 1 trillion is 1 with 12 zeros, and part of they get directly into the eye tissue with current blood. A crystal that has no vessels and there is no way to quickly withdraw these molecules takes the hit. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to say about the number that once struck me, surprised me when I first saw this research. I then reread it twice, to be honest. People who smoke a pack a day for 20 years get cataracts on average at 6 years earlier than non-smokers. 6 years, it sounds as statistics. But let's translate this into reality. 6 years is the difference between, so that at 70 years old you can see and live well. Is it normal, or should I wait in line at 64 to an ophthalmologist surgeon? Had one patient, Nina Alexandrovna, 59 years old. I smoked since I was 18. She says, I a little bit, 5 cigarettes a day, not like that heavy smokers. 5 cigarettes a day. That's 41 years of experience. She has cataracts. Was the kind I usually see non-smoking patients are about 7 years older. I showed her this number. She took a long time, she was silent, then said, I thought that smoking is about the lungs. That's exactly it. Everyone thinks that smoking is a lungs, about the heart at best. But free radicals do not choose an organ. They oxidize everything they can. Get there. And the lens is perfect. Target because he doesn't know how to protect themselves like other fabrics. Here it's important to understand the mechanism. In a healthy body there is an antioxidant system. It neutralizes free radicals before how they manage to cause harm. In the lens, the main antioxidant is glutathione. The concentration in the young lens is very high, but smoking gradually depletes glutathione reserves year after year, and at some point the protection ends, and the radicals keep coming. Then, the clouding begins. But here's what's important, and I say this for those who smoke straight now, it's never too late to quit. In 5 years after quitting smoking, the risk cataracts are reduced significantly, not to zero, but the body begins to recover antioxidant protection. The lens will return what is already damaged, but further destruction can be slowed down, and this is already a lot. Now and here enemy 4. The medications in your medicine cabinet. Many of you, I'm sure, will be wary. I need to talk about medications, about those that are most likely right now are in your medicine cabinet. Medicines which doctors prescribe for blood pressure, from joints, from cholesterol. Some of they are directly related to cataracts, and not a single pharmacist in the pharmacy will tell you about this, won't say. I want to start with a question. Take a mental look at your first aid kit. There is something there from the pressure, from joints, maybe something for lowering cholesterol? If you answered yes, at least on one point, the following a few minutes are especially important for you. I'll start with the most common case. Corticosteroids are hormonal drugs that are prescribed for arthritis, asthma, allergies, a whole range of inflammatory diseases. Prednisolone, dexamethasone, hydrocortisone. Names that some of you have heard or accepted it yourself. So here is a long-term use of corticosteroids, one of the most studied and proven factors in the development of cataracts. Special type, posterior capsular cataract, develops faster than age and affects exactly that area of the lens, which is critical for clear central vision. I had a patient, Viktor Ivanovich, 63 years old, has been taking medication for 5 years, prednisolone, as prescribed by a rheumatologist, rheumatoid arthritis. Rheumatologist, a good doctor, treated my joints correctly, but he didn't warn me about the eyes. Viktor Ivanovich came to me when he had already started to notice that he sees worse. In bright light. The cataract was already significant. He asks, "Why does no one tell me?" Said. I didn't answer this question. I just sent him for surgery and explained what to do next. But the question is why no one said anything. I remember now. Next are diuretics, drugs that are prescribed for hypertension, with cardiac insufficiency, with edema, some of which with long-term use disrupt the water-salt balance lens, and the lens is 70% water with a strictly verified composition. When this balance is disturbed, transparency suffers. Now about statins, and here I know what they'll say, some of you. Doctor, statins for me prescribed by a cardiologist, they save from heart attack. Yes, they save. I don't encourage them. Cancel. But the data on statins contradictory. Some studies show a small increase in risk cataracts with long-term use. Others, this is not confirmed. What am I saying? To your patients, if you accept statins for more than 3 years, check lens once a year. Just hold your hand on the pulse. And finally, yes, that's it. Eye drops with corticosteroids, which people sometimes they drip it themselves from redness or allergies, without a doctor's prescription. This is direct path to the same posterior capsular cataract. Ophthalmic form of the drug, absorbed faster, acts locally, and the lens receives concentrated blow. What to do about it? I don't say, stop all medications. I'm saying something else. If you are taking any of the listed for more than 6 months, ask your doctor for a referral to an ophthalmologist for preventive care inspection. This is not panic, this is elementary control, and it can save you years normal vision. Now about that, what protects the lens from the inside? You can do it every day till the lens was protected from the inside, because there are 3 substances that science knows about, speaks very specifically, not useful in general, and specifically for the lens, specifically with proven figures. And these substances, most likely right now, are missing from your diet in the right amounts quantity. There are studies that I love bringing patients. 10 years observations, more than 3,000 people over 55. Result: those who received regularly sufficient amount of lutein and zeaxanthin with food were at risk of developing cataracts are 32% lower than those who have these received little substances. 32% is not homeopathy, is almost a third. Let's in order. Lutein and zeaxanthin are pigments that accumulate directly in the lens and in retina. They work as an internal light filter, absorb part of the dangerous blue and ultraviolet radiation before it manages to damage proteins. Imagine that your lens have their own built-in glasses. Here, that's what they are. There's only one problem. The body cannot produce them himself, only from food. And here the unpleasantness begins. True, to get therapeutic a dose of 6 milligrams of lutein per day, you need eat about 1.5 glasses of boiled coleslaw or 1.5 cups of spinach every day. Most people, that's not how you eat. I don't eat like that myself, to be honest. I always eat. I had a patient named Tamara Nikolaevna, 67 years old, came to preventive examination, initial changes in the lens. I asked her about nutrition. He says, I eat normally. Vegetables, yes, I'll clarify which ones. Potatoes, carrots, cucumbers, tomatoes. Everything is good in summer, but there is almost zero lutein in this set. Lutein. These are dark green leafy vegetables, spinach, kale, broccoli, green peas, egg yolk. The yolk is a separate story, because lutein from it is absorbed much better than from plants thanks to fats. I prescribed 2 eggs for Tamara Nikolaevna a day, a handful of spinach, and a lutein supplement 10 milligrams. A year later at a follow-up examination. There is no progression. This is not a miracle. Biochemistry. Now vitamin C. His concentration in a healthy lens is 60 times higher than in the blood. 60 times. Think about this figure. It's not a coincidence. The lens specifically accumulates vitamin as an antioxidant reserve. When the reserve is depleted, the defense falls. Research shows that people with high consumption of vitamin C has a risk cataracts by 33–40% below. Daily dose for protection lens from 500 to 1,000 milligrams. 1 8% contains about 70 milligrams. Calculate myself. I'm not saying to immediately run after pills. I say start with food. Bell pepper 150 milligrams per 100 grams. This is record breaker. Twice as much as in a lemon. Black currant, kiwi, rose hips. Everything these are really working sources. And the third substance is vitamin E. A fat-soluble antioxidant that protects the lens cell membranes from oxidation. The best sources are seed sunflower, one of the most accessible and rich. Almonds, hazelnuts, unrefined vegetable oils. A handful of seeds a day is already significant contribution to the defense. But here's what I'll say finally about this topic, and this is important. Neither one nutrient does not work alone. Lutein without enough fat not absorbed. Vitamin C enhances the action of vitamin E. It is a system, not a set of pills. And now about eye exercises, truth and lies eye exercises. I'll say something that contradicts what you read in on the internet, because 90% of what they write about vision exercises. This is either an exaggeration or an outright lie. Let me start with an honest confession. When I was as a young doctor, I advised to myself patients should do eye exercises. 8's rotation, focus on near and far. It seemed logical, the muscles are trained, which means the eye muscles are too. It's good to train your muscles. 20 years have passed. Years. I looked at what science says and changed his mind. It's not just that change what I taught people, but I have to. Let's get this straight. Cataracts. This is a clouding of the lens. The lens it's not a muscle, it's a lens, and no eye movements on. The transparency of this lens is not affected. No way. No 8's, no palming, no sunbathing for the eyes. Nothing of the popularity of gymnastics is not slowing down development of cataracts. This must be said directly, even if it contradicts what is written on thousands of websites. But also here I ask you not to turn off the video. This does not mean eye exercises, they're useless at all, they just work. Not where people think, that's what's real, works. First, relaxation of the cellular muscles. This is the muscle that controls crooked lens, adjust focus like a camera lens. In people who work a lot in front of the screen, the muscle is in constant spasm. The spasm disrupts the nutrition of the lens because it is through the whole body nutrients are supplied to him. Therefore, the relaxation of this muscle is indirect improves nutrition of the lens. This is not cataract treatment, but this is prevention additional stress. How to relax right. Every 45-60 minutes of work, pause the screen. Look into the distance for at least 5-6 meters. Not out the window, onto the neighboring house, in horizon, into the sky, to the far end of the street. It is at this moment that the sellar muscle relaxes completely. 20 seconds such a look into the distance, and the muscles come into peace. I had a patient named Oleg Dmitryevich, 54 years old, programmer, complained of constant eye fatigue, feeling of sand, headaches. By evening there were no cataracts yet, but the initial signs of impaired lens nutrition were already being traced. I gave him one recommendation. Get up and go out every hour, go to the balcony and look into the distance for 20 seconds. After 3 months he came for a follow-up examination. Reception. He says, "Doctor, I think you're laughing at me with this balcony, but there are no complaints because the muscle is finally I started to rest." Sometimes the simplest thing, the most effective one. The second thing that is real useful, blinking. It sounds funny, but it's fact. When working at a screen, the frequency blinking rate drops from the normal 16 times per from 1 to 5 to 7 minutes. Tear-removing film. Dries out, the cornea becomes irritated, the eye sends out alarm signals. Simple conscious blinking every few minutes is not gymnastics, it's hygiene. And the third is sleep. It is in sleep that everything happens. Basic regeneration of eye tissue. Intraocular pressure decreases, the lens's nutrition is restored, antioxidant systems are rebooted. Less than 6 hours of sleep regularly is an additional risk factor that few people associate it with cataracts. In vain. So now we have all the details. Daily protocol, morning, afternoon, evening enemies, we know them. Protective substances, we sorted it out and arranged the exercises places. Now I want to collect all this in one specific plan. Day after day, morning, afternoon, evening, without any general words. A real example of a patient who followed this plan for many years and kept the lens in this condition, that the ophthalmologist called it an anomaly. Alexander Borusevich, 73 years old, came to I was 59 for the first time. He already had it then. One factor of the temple after another. Worked, I've been a surveyor on the streets my whole life, son. Smoked until age 52, 20 years of experience. High blood pressure, took diuretics. I looked at his lenses and honestly he said, with such an anamnesis, cataracts in 5 to 7 years it is almost inevitable. He asked, what to do? I said, here list every day without days off. Now he is 73. The lenses are age-related, changes that do not require surgery. The ophthalmologist who looked at him last year, I asked, did he smoke at all? Because the condition of the eyes doesn't look like it. This is what a system means to a person. I observed it for 14 years. Now specifically what did Alexander Borusevich do every day? Morning, first thing, a glass of water on an empty stomach. The lens is 70% water, and dehydration is one of the factors which violates its transparency. Neither coffee, no tea, water. Second course, breakfast with 2 eggs. Lutein from the yolk, it is best absorbed with fat, and the egg already has fat. Third, gore seeds or almonds. Vitamin E, which protects the lens cell membranes from oxidation. It takes 0 extra minutes. Just a habit day. Every 50 minutes, 20 seconds of looking into the distance. Alexander Borusevich put timer on the phone. It was annoying at first. After 2 weeks, it became automatic. Street glasses with a UV filter of 400 nanometers. No dark glasses from the passage, and glasses with UV 400 marking. This is essential. Dark glasses without a filter are worse than without glasses at all. The pupil dilates, and ultraviolet radiation penetrates the eye to a greater extent. Volume. With lunch, bell pepper or any other source of vitamin C. No pill, no powder. Food first. Half a cup of spinach or broccoli, source of lutein. This is not a diet. This is just add to what's already there. Plate. Evening. The most important thing here is something that is rarely said. Dinner no later than 3 hours before bedtime, because it's a late appointment. Food causes a sugar spike at night, and there is no active movement at night, no muscular work that utilizes glucose, and the lens receives a wave glycation just when the body needs it recover. Alexander Borisovich moved dinner from 9 p.m. to 6 p.m. He says it was hard at first, but I've gotten used to it for a month. And the last thing in the evening protocol: no screens for 30 minutes before bed. Not because of the blue light. Destroys the lens, this is an exaggeration, and because blue light suppresses melatonin, worsens the quality of sleep, and it is during sleep that restoration occurs, nutrition of the lens. Once a year, check up with ophthalmologist with a slit lamp. This the only way to see changes lens before you will feel it. Alexander Borisovich is not I haven't missed a single year in 14 years. This and there is a reason why we know that the plan is working. Now I have to say when surgery is inevitable, and how not to be afraid something important. It happens that a person does everything right, and cataracts are everything develops equally. Genetics, age, factors that were before the man began to take care of himself. And then the question of surgery arises. Many of my patients are afraid of this word. One told me, Roman Igorevich, it's worse to see than to agree with the eyes. I understand this fear, I really do. But that's why I'll explain why now delaying the operation is more dangerous than make up your mind. There are 3 signals that they say. There's no point in waiting any longer. First, vision interferes with everyday life. Not a little worse, but specifically it's getting in the way. You've stopped reading and can't driving a car, you can't see faces well. When the quality of life is declining, this is medical the testimony, not your whims. Second, cataracts begin to affect blood pressure inside the eye. Overripe lens increases in size and can mechanically disrupt the outflow of intraocular fluid liquids. This leads to old age, glaucoma, but this is irreversible. Damage to the optic nerve, therefore I'll wait another year. Sometimes a person has to vision that can never be restored operations. The third is psychological. If the fear of the dark begins to change in the eyes your lifestyle, you stop going out in the evening, refuse to travel, avoid stairs. This is also an indication because quality of life is medical category, not luxury. What as for artificial lenses? There are a choice that many people don't know about. A standard monofocal lens provides excellent vision at one distance, usually into the distance. Multifocal lens allows you to see both far and near without glasses. Toric lenses correct astigmatism. This is a conversation with your eye surgeon, but it's important to know that such a choice exists. Don't agree silently on standard unless you were asked about your needs. And the last thing I tell every patient before surgery, once the lens is installed, it needs to be monitored no less than native lens. Artificial lens does not become cloudy, but the posterior capsule in which it stands, sometimes it gets cloudy. This it's called secondary cataract, and it can be treated with a laser in 5 minutes without any problems. Operations. The main thing is not to miss them annual checkups. Galina Fedorovna agreed to the operation after that conversation. 3 weeks after intervention called me and said, Roman Igorevich, I saw the moon. Just the moon in the window. She says she didn't see it. I've been used to it for about 5 years, and then I saw it and started crying. To be honest, when she told me this, but not right away, replied. That's why you need to not be afraid and don't delay. I promised you to at the beginning. What an ophthalmologist won't tell you in 10 minutes. Things. The first thing I'll tell you is why cataracts start at 40, not at 70. We've covered that. The second thing I'll say what ophthalmologists don't talk about reception. Now that time has come. An ophthalmologist examines your lens, measures pressure, checks visual acuity. If everything is normal, he says, come back in a year and let's go. That's right, that's his work. But after 10 minutes of reception, he physically can't tell you next. Cataract is not a disease eye. It is a disease of the whole body, which visible through the eyes. The lens is indicator. It shows that happens inside you at the level of each cells. Oxidative stress, chronic inflammation, disorder, carbohydrate metabolism, deficiency, antioxidants. All this affects not only on the lens. This hits the blood vessels, joints, in the brain, just in the lens. This is visible earlier and more clearly because it's transparent, it literally shines through. Therefore, the person who seriously took up the protection of the lens, I started eating right and cut out sugar. Jumps, protected from ultraviolet radiation. I set up a catfish and simultaneously protected heart, blood vessels, and neurons. This is not a separate program for the eyes. This is a program for the whole body, which it starts with the eyes because the eyes are an honest indicator. The second thing they keep quiet about at the reception, most people come to the ophthalmologist already, when something is wrong, so when there is fog, when there is double vision, when it's hard to read. But cataracts are early stage, does not produce any symptoms at all. You don't feel anything. The lens is already changes, and you think that everything is fine. That is why a preventive examination with a slit lamp after 50 years, once a year without symptoms, just by the calendar. This is not an overstatement, this is the only one. A way to catch a process before it will catch you. Thirdly, and this is the most personal, what I will say today, after 20 years of practice, I have seen hundreds of people who have lost vision is not from incurable diseases. Not from genetics, not from bad luck, from inaction, I'll figure it out later, from I don't feel any pain yet. My lens doesn't hurt, never. He just stops one day. Let the light through. And then they come to and they ask me, what should I do now? What to do now? I already said, but better before it happened now. Here are 4 actions to take today, a short list of what you can do it today, not tomorrow today. First, sign up for a preventative and examination by an ophthalmologist, if you haven't had one more than a year. Second, look at your glasses for the street. Do they have, is there a UV 400 marking? If not, this is the first one, a purchase worth making. Third, add 2 eggs and a handful to your breakfast seeds. This is not a diet, it's 15 minutes a store and 2 minutes in the kitchen. Fourth, if you are taking corticosteroids or diuretics for more than 6 months, ask referral to an ophthalmologist for the following visit to your doctor. 4 steps, not 30, not a life-changing event. 4 specific steps, each of which can be to do this week. Valentina Petrovna, with whom I started this conversation, she did all this, came to I'm in a year, progression there are no cataracts, he says. Roman Igorevich, I'm taking care of myself now. I say, are you watching your lens? She says, no, for herself, she's right. That's exactly how it works. My name is Roman Igorevich Tlyashev. Take care of yourself until next week.